time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, The Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Yes, indeed, it is the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. We'll be talking about Blake coming up in just a second. In the meantime, though, here's some information for you. Over the next 30 minutes, you're going to be hearing so much great stuff, and you're going to want to hear more about it, or maybe get a little bit more in-depth. The easy way to do that is to talk to Blake directly. Yes, he's a real person, and yes, you can talk to him directly. The phone number for him at his office at Sloan Realty Group is 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or you can go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com. We'll repeat that contact information a lot over the next 30 minutes in case you didn't get it that time. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get the show started with Blake Sloan.
Good morning, everyone. As promised here, grinding it out right for the holiday and making sure that we are pushing through into next year. So I got an awesome show today. We're going to go over the micro market numbers. Last week, remember, we went over the overall macro market numbers, and they were very interesting to say the least. The first time we've seen a significant decline in the amount of sales, right? Something we talked about that would happen potentially based on what we saw in other areas of the country. We'll talk about that. And also, actually, I'll talk about what marketplaces in the country are seeing some of the biggest declines so far. Remember, I talked about we're fairly insulated, but one of the things that we can always tell, we're about 6 months behind California. I'll let you guess who's leading that charge. Some of the biggest cities that are seeing declines are based right in California. And so we'll talk about that for everyone there as well. Interesting numbers all across the country. We'll talk about kind of how the markets are performing overall. We'll definitely make sure you get the inside scoop. This is something I study daily now to help, obviously, advise our clients, advise our team, and that kind of give us be able to way to stay ahead of the game, so to speak, in our strategy standpoint. Also, the one thing we'll talk about if we have time is that Myrtle Beach was named as one of the top 100 places to retire. We had that on the list last week, just did not get time to that as well. We have some awesome success stories. Our team's still kicking big time, but I think we had 8 closings yesterday for the week, and we're still pushing strong. And so that's something I'm super proud of, success stories we're seeing there. And also, I mentioned last week briefly, if we have time this week, we'll talk about it, is we're ramping up for big time growth in 2019 as far as we stand. Even when the market changes, we're positioned very well. We have a very detailed strategy to help that. And the bottom line is we have too many buyer leads. And so we're looking to bring more winners on our team. We'll talk about that in the show as well.
Well, like you said, it's the holidays, but success never takes a holiday, so you can't.
That's for sure.
Put up the gas. All right. If you're just tuning in for the very first time and you wondering who is this guy, well, Blake Sloan has been called the real estate whiz kid. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Realtor magazine, other national publications. Seen him on TV with NBC and Fox and Friends morning show. You've heard the endorsements here on this very radio station from Glenn Beck, from Sean Hannity, also Barbara Corcoran, Gary LaVox. Put them all together, it's unprecedented in the real estate world, especially when we're talking our market here. Now, one of the things that Blake also does, he has trademark systems to help both buyers and sellers, and he's not going to let the cat out of the bag right now because you've got to come on board with him. But he will kind of give you a little bit of a tease, a little bit of a taste as to what the most important part of that trademark system is.
Absolutely, that's one thing that, like I said before, I think I mentioned last week, this has become my calling. This is kind of what my why is in business and why we do this show, so to speak, because there's a lot of horror stories in real estate. Just get real, right? There's a lot of horror stories, a lot of frustrations. Real estate agents are not in the very highest level of trust. And people, I think, were like right above car salesmen. At least that's what they teach us in our real estate class. But the reality is the single most important variable that determines your failure or success when you're selling your home comes down to one thing only. And that is the agent that you choose, period, right? Because the reality of the situation is that there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one of those are handled correctly, guess what that does? That puts money in your pocket. The property gets sold for top dollar in most cases. If any of those variables are handled incorrectly or the ball gets dropped, guess what that does? That costs you money. The property does not get sold, which means you waste 3, 4, sometimes 6+ months wasting your time paying mortgage payments and ultimately leads in frustration. And so that's because most people are just winging it, right? They're just putting MLS, putting the sign in the front yard and praying that someone brings a buyer. And so what we did is we identified every single variable in the process. That's how we know there's 118 of them. And then what we did was create a system that's proven and repeatable, right? That creates maximum leverage every single point. So we create a small gap at point 1, small gap point 2, all the way through. And so at the end, it gives our client a huge competitive advantage. And so the reality is it's called the guaranteed sold system. only proven system to sell homes twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. It's very, very powerful. Anybody that sees it, if you watched, listen to last week's show, Jeremy was on the show and he talked about whenever you show someone this process, their face just lights up. They've never seen anything like it. And so that's what gets big time results. Guess what? On the buyer side, same exact thing. There's 100 plus variables on the buyer side. They're opposite variables because you're on the other side of the transaction. And so we designed a system there to give our clients huge competitive advantage. It's called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. And the Realty gets you access to absolute best deals, foreclosures, distress sales, desperate sellers, all these things that process, the absolute best negotiation in the purchase price, aka home price, and also through the inspections. And so that's something that's super important to look out for. Both of those situations, the way to look at it is we create small gaps and we stack the small gaps on each other to create a big gap. We talk about the best analogy is running a marathon or an Ironman, right? Everyone takes off at the same time, but some people finish 3 and 4 hours ahead of everyone else. That's the same exact thing that we do from a home selling standpoint, right? Small gaps and over time create big gaps. And that's what we really focus on. And that's something that gives our clients huge competitive advantage. And again, that's why you watch our numbers. We'll take homes that haven't been sold in 6, 12 months. We sell them in 2 weeks for more money than they had it listed for before. That's because we actually execute on the variables that matter and give you a huge jump versus competition.
All right. Well, we got a lot of great stuff to get to in this show and a long time to get to it. So I'll tell you what, we're going to really get involved and get in depth with the micro market. We're going to go down zip code by zip code to see how things are selling and how they're not selling in various places around the Grand Strand. Also on the way, we'll look at what the interest rates, mortgage rates are looking like. Very big, important numbers. That's all coming your way in just a second. Get in touch with Blake by calling him at his office. That phone number is 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD. You can also go online to blakesloan.com, blakesloan.com.
Hey, it's your friend Sean Hannity. Now, if you own property in Myrtle Beach, the national marketing plan of the realtor that you choose is absolutely critical. Now, that's exactly why you need to talk to Blake Sloan at Sloan Realty Group. Now, Blake has a marketing system on a whole different level than anyone else in Myrtle Beach. That's so effective at capturing local home buyers from around the world that he can guarantee to sell your home at a price and a deadline that you agree to, or Blake's going to buy it. While most agents rely on yard signs and open houses that attract the occasional buyer, Blake attracts hundreds of buyers each month, which creates demand and helps your property sell fast and for top dollar. Now, that's why on average, Blake sells a property every single day of the year and is ranked among the top 100 agents in the entire U.S. by the Wall Street Journal. Now, working with Blake is risk-free. If you're not happy, Blake gives you the freedom to cancel your contract and pay nothing. So give Blake a call today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or just go online and see Blake's interview on NBC at blakesguarantee.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corcoran. To sell your home on time for the most money, you need a sharp agent with a marketing strategy that creates the most demand. Bottom line, you need a partner willing to put their own money on the line for you. In Myrtle Beach, I would hire Blake Sloan. His international marketing creates so much demand that if your home doesn't sell at a price and deadline you agree to, Blake will buy it. Partner with the agent I trust. Go online or call and get your home sold.
It's the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Coming up in just a second, we'll be checking out the mortgage rates. We'll see what the numbers are and see what that might be meaning to you as far as making or losing money and why you need to act right now. But before we get into that, let's go down zip code by zip code and see what the micro market looks like as we break things down a little bit, Blake.
Yeah, so we'll dig into the micro market. That's what everyone likes to know about, like what's going on in my neighborhood, my area, because there is some big variations based on what part of the beach you're on, right? And so quick recap for anyone that missed last week. If you look at the overall marketplace, single family homes, resale homes, the sales last month in November were down 12.5%. And so that's alarming, right? Double-digit decline that we saw there. And that's after a huge jump, that bounce back we saw after the hurricane. So that's something we'll continue to watch. I still think that has a little bit to do with people that couldn't buy in September whenever the hurricane came through. I'm pretty sure it's September. But basically, it's 3 weeks. People couldn't come in town to actually buy. And so that's something that we'll watch and see what that does. But like I mentioned, we're seeing this trend across the country right now, which is something to kind of watch out for sure. So last month, single-family home sales down 12.5% overall. If you look at new construction homes, they're down 14.4% versus the same month last year. And so into prices, the good news is in regards to prices last month up 10.8% for resale homes, which is good. double digit there. And new construction prices up 17.2%. And so the one thing to watch though is obviously we use these data to predict. And so price is always a lagging indicator. And so we'll see the sales decline now, aka 12%, will reflect in the future numbers, which is actual price. And so that's something to kind of be aware of and to watch. Obviously, I'm sure most everyone out there listening has heard about the chaos in the stock market, huge drops this week, and also the Fed raising rates again, which is kind of all over the place in regards to what's going on in the market. And so that just obviously puts out a lot of fear too. And so we've had some people back out of purchasing property because they lost huge losses in the stock market in their portfolio. And so the one thing we've been kind of preaching and showing, look, this is a very safe investment long term, especially being in Myrtle Beach. In the worst case, you can actually rent that out, right? It's kind of hard to rent that stock portfolio out. And so the reality is it makes a big difference. And so that's just something to kind of look at overall. If you look at the actual inventory, inventory went down for resale homes this past month. It's at 5.3 months. It's down 1.9% from the same thing last year. New construction inventory down 3.7%. And so that's not the calls here, right? That's just something to kind of look at overall. So I'm gonna jump in the micro market. I'll fly through it just because obviously it takes a little bit of time, but everyone wants to know like what's my area doing. So we'll start in Myrtle Beach, the 29577, 29572 area codes. Sales last month down 11%, and so it's actually, if you look at year to date, it was up 11.0%. So it's actually, you're seeing that decline fairly sharp here towards the end of the year. Median sales price last month up 10.2% at 311,300. Year to date, though, price is up 6.3% at $319,008, which is good. On average, in last month in Myrtle Beach, this is a very key number to look at. And so the list to sale price ratio. So, for example, if the house listed 100,000, right, last month the average was 96.7%. And so if it was listed 100,000, it sold for 96,700. If you look at year to date, it was 97.5. And so last month was pretty much a full point below where it's been the entire year, which is showing you what? Some softening of the marketplace there because people aren't paying as high of an asking price as usual. Myrtle Beach usually has one of the highest in the area because obviously it's one of the most demanded areas. Days on market increased 11.6% last month. And so if you kind of look at the trifecta there, sales were down. The actual percent of list price received was down. And also days on market was up. And so that means it's taking about 10% longer. It's actually 11.6% longer to sell a home in Myrtle Beach. And so that's something you want to be aware of from a strategy standpoint. Obviously, you can see what the effects are going to be longer term, which will be price. And so you want to make sure you make your advantage, your strategy around how to predict what's going forward, right? Because this is obviously data behind you. So we advise our clients the same way. And also, anybody thinking about selling, don't wait till spring this year. This is your one lesson. If you take anything from this show, right, don't wait till spring if you're going to wait till spring. Take advantage of that now before the further decline and you start seeing the price actually come down as well. And so closed sales last month for condos down 8.2%. Prices were up 3.8% last month for median price at 122 even. They're getting 96% of asking price, which is pretty flat. And the days on market to sell was up 21.4% last month. And so you're seeing that, right? Huge increases in time on the market, which is showing you what? The softening of both condos and homes. And so that's obviously something that you want to be aware of. In Myrtle Beach, last month, sales down 23.6% last month alone. The great news, though, is that prices are up 8.8%, 317,770. Year-to-date prices are up 1.7%. And you're seeing the same thing there, increase in days on market, 4.1%. The good news, though, is the inventory is down in Myrtle Beach 13.9%. And so that's just something to kind of be aware of as well. In the Little River, closed sales increased last month. There was actually, it went from 42 sales in 2017 to 50, 19% increase, which is great. Year to date, sales are up 18.5% in Little River. The shocking kind of part, though, is that price was down 7.2%. So you want to watch that, be aware of that. And the one thing, too, that kind of was alarming to me, the days on market in Little River went up 31.6%. And so right about 177 days on average of the properties that do sell. And so that's just something to kind of watch and be aware of as well. Lower saw a 24.5% decrease in the sales last month. For the year, it's almost exactly flat. Last year, for example, in Loris and Longs, there were 640 homes sold. As of November, they're 637. So you're pretty close to where it was in that regard. The crazy thing, though, this is probably the most interesting number, is that the days on market was up 58%. And so this is kind of the one number that stands out to me more than anything across the board for all of our micro market numbers is how much of an increase we've seen for days on market. So, for example, in Loris and Longs, it went up from 133 days to 211. And that's just the properties that sold. And so, what does that tell you? It tells you there's some softening there, right? There's properties that are taking longer to sell in that regard. From my standpoint, like I mentioned this last week, is that I'm okay with that to a point because now you got to actually be good. You got to know how to market. You can't just be somebody that just gets in real estate, throws a sign in the yard, and it gets sold, right? You have to be able to know the details, and it allows us to really give our clients a huge advantage. Obviously, it's a little tougher for us, but that's something that I'm okay with because we're pretty daggone good at what we do. And so the Surfside Beach area, the sales almost flat. There was 42 sales in November 2018 versus 43 the year before. Year to date, those sales are down 6.7%. The great news, though, last month prices in Surfside up 12.7% at 250,000, and the days on market is taking about 5.3% longer, right? About 143 days on average for the properties that do sell. Soxy last month saw a 6.1% decrease in closed sales. Prices last month, though, up 5.6% at 186,000 even. And they're getting right about 97.7% asking price, which is pretty much flat where it was. It's taking a little bit longer, 4.2% longer to sell in Soxy as well than usual. Into Garden City, Myrtle's in the area. They're seeing a hit too, down 17% last month in regards to property sold. Prices last month, though, up 290. And also part of the trifecta here as well is days on market 13.6% longer. And so all three of those together is a very, very telltale sign of some softening in the market. Now, do I think we'll see a decline, a huge drop? No. I have four things we'll talk about at the end today on why we're not really going to see a huge drop like last time. But we definitely will see some softening of price because it does kind of correct itself. Into Carolina Forest, last month, Carolina Forest saw 21.1% decrease in sales last month versus the same month last year. Year-to-date sales, though, were up 13%. And prices last month, a huge jump, went up 25%. It went from 220,766 last year to 277,738. Carolina Forest has still been kicking butt, too, in regards to sales, inventory, the amount of properties, have actually the market, the inventory has been very low, which is driving prices up very well. And so that's great news there for Carolina Forest. If you're thinking about selling, that's one of the key areas I identified in this report that you want to take advantage of that now. You're kind of getting towards that peak. There's less inventory in there. Make sure you take advantage of this. If you got something there, we have a lot of buyers in Carolina Forest right now too. Reach out to me if someone has had their house for sale in there, hasn't been able to sell it. Reach out. We've been crushing the farm, Avalon, all kind of areas lately. We've been selling a lot this past month as well. Into Conway, sales down 22% last month. The good news, year to date, they're up 2.1%. Prices last month in Conway up 6.4% at 174,500. And check this out, the trifecta once again, days on market, 20.7% increase in the amount of time it takes to sell a house in Conway versus the same month last year. And so these are key numbers you want to make sure that you're taking into account when you're picking your strategy. And it doesn't necessarily mean price. It just means how are you going to come about this? What's going to be your strategy? And how do you market it? And obviously make those changes as well. So into Aner, there's not that much data. So I just look at the year-to-date data. Year-to-date closed sales are up 28%, which is awesome. Went from 38 last year to 49 this year. Prices up. This is cool. It went from 177 last year to 212. So a 19.4% increase in Aner. So Aner's one of the hot areas, man.
It's always hot.
Yeah, it is. So great opportunity there for anyone in that area. Days on market actually went down, which is one of this is the very irregularity for the marketplace, down 15%. So they're selling 15% faster in Aner. And this just shows you the swings you see, right, in regards to the micro market. Make sure that you know what the heck you're looking at and you're talking about. If you have an agent who doesn't bring this to you, you're in trouble, right? And so closed sales in Pawleys and Litchfield down 8.1% last month alone. They're actually down year to date as well, 6.1% decrease in the amount of sales. The great news is last month prices were up 9%. So it went from 315,990 to 344,508, and so that's just something that's good to watch there as well. And so pretty much the same. And then Georgetown coming in. Usually, not a whole lot of data. Year to date, they're up 8.2%. So great news there. Price is up 7.9%, right at 180,000 for median price. And price the houses are selling 8.9% quicker than the year before. And so great news for anyone out there in Georgetown and those areas. So the micro market matters. If you're just curious, reach out to me, my team. We can advise you. We'll send you this report so you can look at it. We got a 20-page report per area, per property that you want that we're more than happy to send. But ultimately, if you got to say, hey, Blake, what does all this mean, right? What this means is the trifecta there of what we see in regards to decline in sales, right? Increase in regards to the amount of time on market, and then watching also the price. You definitely want to make sure that you're getting your house on the market earlier this year. Don't wait until the spring. At least from what the data tells me, rates are rising, which we'll talk about in a second. There's some softening in other areas of the country, which I'll talk about as well. So if you're thinking about selling, if you're not even sure what to do, reach out, call us 843-808-SOLD. But there is some more urgency. There is that kind of old school mentality of let's wait till the spring. This is not the year for you to wait to the spring market. Make sure you take advantage of this first of the year when people are still buying, people are still coming in town, and we make sure we get you the advantage versus everyone else. So last thing you want to do is wait till everyone else did, and sales are down even more, and prices are starting to climb down. You don't want to follow the market down as well. If you want, we'll hop into interest rates.
Absolutely.
So really quick, had some craziness in interest rates, right? And so obviously, you guys remember the Fed raised their rate again last week. That doesn't directly affect mortgage rates, but indirectly it does, right? Because I'll get to that in a second, but 30-year fixed rate right now, 4.64%. 15-year fixed rate, 4.20%. A 30-year FHA loan, 4.23%. A jumbo loan is 4.40%, and a 5-year adjustable rate mortgage is 4.6%. And so the reality is, and like last week's show is in the 4.7s. I remember it got up to 5 and it's dropped back down. So we're almost closest to their 4-month low, and it kind of followed the Fed announcement, which is not necessarily normal. What happened was obviously the huge crash in the stock market this past week affected the bond market, which positively helped rates a little bit. But for the long-term trend, everyone's looking at them going up, and so that's just something to kind of be aware of as well. All the national kind of providers are talking about, we'll be in 4.9 at least in regards to Q1 next year. Q2 next year be a 5.0. Q3 next year be a 5.2, and Q4 at 5.3. And that comes directly from the Freddie Mac report from a bunch of economists that they pull together. It could jump up further if we do see a little more chaos in the markets. But overall, and a lot of the experts are saying right now that kind of is a new floor we've hit pretty much after the whole debacle this past week with the stock market. So the reality is, right, real estate's still a solid investment. We'll talk about in a few minutes how we're insulated very, very, very well, and how we compare to a lot of our competition as well.
All right, sounds good. We got a lot of stuff still to get to, a lot of shows still to get to. Coming up in just a minute, we are going to be jumping into the hot buyers alert, and we also got some great success stories we want to tell you about, and some other great things like Blake told you about why the Myrtle Beach area is one of the hottest markets to be moving into right now. We already know that, but we're going to tell you why. That's going to be coming up in just a minute. Remember, if you want to talk to Blake, you can. Real easy. Give him a call at Sloan Realty Group. That's the name of the office. Don't be confused by others. It's Sloan Realty Group. Call 843-808-SOLD. 843-808-SOLD, or go online to blakesloan.com.
You want your home sold on time and for the most money without all sorts of excuses? Hi, it's Glenn Beck, and when I had to sell my home, I went through several agents who all had good ideas.
Not a ton of time left, only about 3.5 minutes.
Okay, 5, right? Okay, let's do a success story quickly, and then we'll do the hot buyers.
Reaching buyers from around the U.S. and around the world, and week after week, he attracts hundreds of buyers. That creates incredible demand, and that's why he can guarantee to sell your home at a price and a deadline that you'll agree to, or he's going to buy it. Plus, you don't really risk anything when you list with Blake. If he doesn't live up to the contract, you walk away free and clear. It's really no wonder why Sean Hannity and I, along with real estate tycoon and Shark Tank star Barbara Corcoran, endorse Blake. Call Blake Sloan right now, 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD. Or visit Blake's website. That's blakesguarantee.com. blakesguarantee.com. Or listen to Blake's Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 or Sunday morning at 11:30 right here on WRNN.
The Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Remember, if you are looking and even thinking about selling, Blake and his team looking for homes in the area, anywhere between $150,000 to $3.5 million. So if you're thinking of selling, call Blake. He needs the inventory right now, immediately. Call 808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD. So many people looking for homes in the area. 51,000. You've cracked the 51,000 barrier there.
Yes, sir.
51,136 active home buyers. And that's active home buyers on your websites right now, Blake, looking for homes in the area.
Foot is on the pedal still, right? People think I'm crazy, but I might be crazy. I don't know. But I have not pulled back on that. That's what we're pushing hard. So we need buyers. So we need sellers, right? Mass amounts of buyers. Reach out to me. If you're thinking about selling, like right now, we have Jessica Huskins from Hilton Head. We got Luis Lazada from Hyde Park, Massachusetts. Tracy West from Bloomington, Illinois. All these people, we got global buyers that are continuing to search and find. That's how we sell properties faster. We have technology that matches up buyers and sellers, have a team who's incentivized to sell your house, right? Not just put it to MLS or try to have some open house that's going to actually get it sold, right? The prayers don't work, especially as we go into a tough market. You want somebody who's got mass amounts of buyers, who's willing to invest up front and spend capital. My business model gives me a huge advantage in regards to being able to do so. And so if you're thinking about selling, anyone you talk to over the holidays, both Christmas, obviously New Year's, all that stuff, make sure you say, look, you got to call Blake Sloan. That may come up at the dinner table. You got to make sure you have them call Blake Sloan for sure, right? And so reach out to us, 808-SOLD. I know we got like, what, 1 minute left? Okay, so awesome. Super proud of our team. Like I told y'all a few weeks ago, we're still pedal to the metal to the end of the year. Like we're having trouble getting even other realtors on the phones, right? We're still pushing, selling stuff, closing stuff, putting deals together. One of our agents, Tiffany, just put 3 under contract this week. And so super cool here. The first one's Terry and Linda. They're looking to build a home in North Carolina. The problem was they needed to sell their house in Conway before they could build. They were referred to us, the key part, by an awesome radio listener. They decided to give us a call. We launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, within 2 weeks to be on the market, had multiple offers on the property, got top dollar over asking price, and now they're able to actually, they already started building their house, their dream home, they called it, in North Carolina. So that's another example too. And here's another one, which I like the best, is when like Wanda and Mickey have their house in North Myrtle Beach, previously listed with another agent for over 6 months, 0 success. And they heard about us on the radio, decided to take action, give us a call. The cool part, their house is a very high-end house, 2 blocks of the beach in North Myrtle Beach. Right. Their goal was to downsize to a home on 1 floor. We get a lot of people who downsize a lot, and we're very good at the high end because we'll sell your big house to a buyer from up north and allow you to get in your one size smaller house. So if you know someone, that's what we specialize in. We're very good at that. So long story short, launched that. We identified their problem was marketing. Low marketing blitz, drove massive traffic, had under contract for 96% asking price within 2 weeks. And now they're able to move on, find the house that fits their lifestyle. So super cool there as well.
Absolutely. A lot of great stuff. Well, Blake, thanks for all the information. As always, if you'd like to get more information and dig even deeper, you can. Give Blake a call at his office. Like he said, holiday, sure, but he's not taking the pedal off the metal. He is put to the floor and making sure that everything is full bore as always. Call him at Sloan Realty Group at 843-808-SOLD, 843-808-SOLD, or go to blakesloan.com. Blake, have yourself happy holidays. Talk to you again next week.
Yes, sir, next week.
All right, you have been listening to the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Hey, Myrtle Beach, it's Gary LaVox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts. When I'm Moving On won the award for ACM Song of the Year, it struck a chord with folks who understand the challenges that come with life's